We'll now link up with Eshomomo Imodu and TJ Aderi in our Abuja studio for FCT Brief. Good morning, guys. How are you doing this morning? Happy Workers' Day, and handing over the conversation to you.
Happy Workers' Day to you too, Veronica.
Happy Workers' Day, but at work.
Quite an irony.
TJ, we're talking about telecommunications this morning, but something that is very interesting is the fact that despite the huge sum we pay, the services are not commensurate.
It's just quite a sad one because I think it's when they even increased the tariff that we started to experience a lot of network failures, and Nigerians have just had a lot to deal with when it comes to all this increase in tariff and then poor service delivery. Another one that comes into play is the role they play in terms of security. A lot of people will expect that with the information they gather and collect, it will be easy to track. Yes, but unfortunately, excuses upon excuses, and the crime still persists, and they are unable, to deliver when so some things are expected of them. It just
I think we should hold the NCC responsible.
They have a lot.
You ought to supervise and regulate that sector. So if they are not doing their job, we hold you responsible.
Well,
let's go to what we have for you this morning. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Abuja segment of the breakfast, which is now called FCT Brief. Nigerian lawmakers have slammed the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, over the rising crime rate, poor quality of telecommunication services, and exploitative products, service pricing. Members of the House of Representatives Committee on Communications spoke at a legislative colloquium in Lagos. The lawmakers accused the NCC of colluding with mobile network operators to allow criminals to use telecom infrastructure to perpetrate their nefarious activities. A Nigerian Chinedu Oga lamented that every crime committed in the country riding on the mobile network operators' infrastructure is known to both the NCC and the mobile network operators. He wondered why the NCC is coming out after 22 years to talk about the limitations of the 2003 Act. He questioned why the NCC did not come out 5 years ago to highlight the inadequacies of its enabling law.
But the Executive Vice Chairman and CEO of the NCC, Aminu Maida, said the complaints from the lawmakers underscored the need for regular conversations between them. He said that last year, on the insistence of the NCC, some 60 million subscribers' identity models were deactivated. According to him, every line is attached to a national identity number, and no mobile network operator disallows law enforcement agencies from carrying out lawful intercepts. He said so far, the mobile network operators have committed over $1 billion for equipment to make the network resilient. He denied collaborating with the mobile network operators negatively, assuring that things would get better. Also responding to the barrage of criticisms from the lawmakers, the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Companies of Nigeria, Benga Adebayo, said when kidnappers strike, they use the mobile phone of their captives to negotiate ransom, making it difficult to bust. He challenged any security operative who has been denied a request for geolocation by the mobile network operators to speak out. And for more on this very important national concern, let's speak with a member of the House of Representatives Committee on NCC, Festus Adefironye, who joins us via Zoom. And also here in the studio, we have an artificial intelligence and cybersecurity consultant, Hanil Hamisu Jafaru. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Well, I'll start with you, Honorable Adefironye. Some lawmakers have accused the NCC of turning a blind eye while criminals use telecom networks to commit crime. That's a very heavy allegation there. How can this be properly investigated and also prevented?
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, we have a program here in Lagos, and every honorable member spoke their opinion. And you know, when you have your opinion, you can express it. And that doesn't mean that it's the general opinion of the House. But what I want to say, all the challenges that we are having on this security, the network, a poor quality network, is, we can say it's not totally the challenges, the problem from the operator. The operator have their own blame, and Nigeria also have, we also have our own blame. Because until when we change our mindset, when we believe, when we know that every infrastructure, more especially network, is very, very important. Telecoms and network is very, very important to every Nigerian, even to the economy of the Nigeria. And every time the network is being destroyed or being tampered with, it's not going to affect only the people in that area. It's going to affect Nigerians, the economy of the country, and everybody. So the network operators, yes, they have issues. The regulators, they have their own challenges, which when you do your job properly, you'll be able to regulate and ensure that even to complain, when Nigerians complain about poor quality service, you will stand by them. Nigeria will be able to, they'll be able to come to you freely that yes, what I'm not receiving good service for my work.
Honorable,
and we try to explain
Honorable,
this.
we will come to the issue of
Yes.
quality of services. We want to just stay with this security issue first. And let me do a follow-up question on this. When the NCC brought out the SIM synchronization with NIN, they told us that it's meant to achieve some objective. And let me read out some of this objective. They said combating fraud and illegal activities. They said improving SIM registration accuracy. And they said enhancing security. Now, you are a member of the House of Representatives. In carrying out your oversight function, would you say that NCC and the mobile operators have delivered on these objectives? Because Nigerians were inconvenienced, Nigerians were mandated to go through this process, and we have gone through the process. But would you say that they have also risen up to the occasion to help us in dealing with the issue of insecurity in Nigeria?
Yes, I will tell you, it's no, capital no. The NCC have not even stand up to that responsibility. Why? Because every call that you make, when you have your mobile phone, people sometimes they don't know the process that the call take place before they get to the final end. When you have a mobile phone, the mobile phone speaks to the BTS, base transfer stations, and down from that BTS it goes to the BSC, base substation controller. It goes to the MSC, which is the switch. Every call that you make, every transactions, data activities, voice activities that you make on your phone, there is a record at the switch, because the switch control every information that comes to them. So if anybody is making transaction on any network, the operators, the NCC is supposed to tell us where that transaction have taken place, because they have the record. There is no call that you make that they don't have record. At that particular time, they have location update that will tell them at what point, at what location this call has been originated, and where the call have been terminated also. They have all those records. I don't think it should be difficult to recognize and to know where this call have been originated. And also, if an NCC is doing that regulation, at least if they have sanctioned the operators, at least we have done updates on several occasions that you need to do your link your NIN with your phone, do this, do that. But Nigerians have done it. But honestly, there is nothing to say about this. Why? Because if you have challenges on this, maybe they defraud you of your money, you don't even have anywhere to complain to. And that is one of the points that we said before in our conference yesterday, There's nowhere to complain to, because if you complain, nobody is even going to listen. You complain to any NCC. Who are you going to complain to, even in NCC? But I think the NCC need to sit up, and that is why we are discussing on how to enmax, how to review the Nigerian Communication Act 2003 that have been done 22 years ago. And that is one of the reasons why we gather together to review this.
All right, we'll come back to you. Mr. Jafaru, when it comes to national security, a lot is expected from the NCC. But, quite a number of people believe that it is not doing as expected in its own capacity. Would you say this is a fair assessment of the Commission?
Well, I would not say that, and I have reasons for saying that, because when it has to do with national security, NCC is just a pawn in the whole issue. There is the comprehensive redesign of the national security architecture that we need to have, which has not been done largely. So surveillance of communications activities, which is the role NCC has to play, and which is a major issue when it has to do with the national security. They may not be doing their part when it has to do with ensuring that certain information are made available. I believe that anybody that is engaged with any insecurity or security issues should be able to be tracked using the infrastructures that we have. And even with the responses from NCC saying that they use the victim's phone or victim's gadgets to do whatsoever negotiation, it really doesn't stop you being tracked, because whether it is the victim's gadget or their gadget, it's still connected to the infrastructure.
So you're in some way justifying what people are saying, that they are not living up to expectations.
Yes. So, but I would not just isolate NCC from the whole issue and say that they are the cause we have the mobile network operators have their own role to play, the NCC have their own role to play, security agencies have their own role to play. So we can't, the people also have their own role to play. So we can't just pick NCC and say NCC is the one that has bulk of the role. NCC can make provision for this data, and the security agency does not make good use of it.
Okay. So, sorry, as an expert, can you help us understand the process, talking about national security? The Honorable talked about that, said if you make a call, it registers on the board and on the platform and all that. Explain that process to us.
Okay, so now it's before you even make a call. When you move from one mast or BTC to another, there is what is called the visitor register that registers your details, including your IMEI number, your phone number. It has that details already in the system. So as you're moving from one location to another, the BTC tends to register all those details. So even without you having to make a call, your detail is already there. Now let me give an example. Let's say there is an insecurity issue and a call is being made from any phone. You can actually triangulate to know the numbers of phone numbers within that particular range for you to be able to know who and who is in that place. And if you have a NIN connected to every phone number, and you have specific phone numbers within a particular range, you can easily track them. So it's really not as though that it's a difficult task. So why they are not making that information available, it's what I don't know, because I'm not holding brief for them. But I believe that they can do more. With the little infrastructures that we have, I believe we'll be able to apprehend some of these criminals that makes use of our communication system to carry out some of these crimes. Except if we're not looking at the case of satellite, which is still all under their purview, but that can be complex when you begin to triangulate and when you want to carry out data. But as long as you're using the mobile phone that uses a SIM card and is connected to the mast that we all see and have communications with, I think they can provide information to security agencies for them to be able to carry out their duties.
All right. Honorable Adefinronye, it's surprising to many that after 2 decades, the NCC is saying that the 2023 Act has serious limitation. On 2003, rather, not 2023. 2003 Act has serious limitations. Why did it take so long for them to speak up? And is the National Assembly also missing something here in terms of, performance of their oversight?
Thank you very much. As I've said, the Nigerian Communications Act 2003 was enacted 22 years ago. And the situations as at then is not the current situation we are facing now. So the act is supposed to have been reviewed. And this is supposed to come in form of executive bill, because this act is being operated by the NCC. So it is not the responsibility of the National Assembly to tell the NCC what to do. But as we have discussed, the act is long, the review is long overdue, and that was what we have done, and we will continue to work on that. Then we are not facing with challenges of infrastructure when this act was enacted. Though the coverage then was not as what we have now, but nobody will go to telecom structures and destroy it. Nobody is cutting fiber. Nobody, and even as at then, when what the operators use, the equipment they use are not the equipment they are using now. Then they use copper for their backbone, and when they go there, if they cut the copper, people believe that they have something that they can do. They get the copper from the table and they can sell it. But now, if they even cut fiber, it's just sabotage. There's nothing they can use the fiber for, because the fiber is in the form of a glass. And if the network is not, if the infrastructure is not protected, or maybe the landlord just lock up site, there's no way we will not have issues. We will not have issue on our network. And that is why we said we need to put infrastructural protection into the act, so that people will know that when you tamper with the telecoms equipment, you are going to pay dearly for it. So people will not tamper with it. And the one that we have now, we'll be able to go along with it. So that is what we are looking at it. And the NCC believe, and they agree with us that yes, it's long time that they are fought in that area, that now that we have started, so they want the act to be reviewed, so that at least we will have better law, so that people will know their responsibility. NCC also will know that they need to stand up to their responsibility. That is what we have done now.
All right, Honorable. Let me still ask you this particular question. This act has been there for about 23 years, which also means that yes. For 22 years, we've had the National Assembly oversighting NCC. Now, when you go on oversight, is it that you do, what type of questions or what type of query do you issue to NCC when you realize that certain things are not done, especially when this SIM synchronization took place? Have you observed that they've not been up to their responsibility in ensuring they help team security? Did you ask them questions, or was sanction recommended during your oversight? I think we would like to just understand your role in all this.
When you go for oversight of any agency or commission or any MDAs, you look at everything, not it's not, you don't have a single line item that you are going there to look at. You look at everything, their operations, even the staff strengths, whether even their staffing, whether they abide with federal characters, their operations, the law, you look at everything. But in this case of NCC, as I've said, they are the operators of the act, and they interface with the operators. They interface with the network operators, and the network operators complain to them, tell them their challenges every time. So we expect NCC to take their act as their responsibility to inform the honored members that this act is due for review. When you go for oversight, it's not that you are going there to just look at the acts that establish a commission or any agency. So you go there to look at their papers, their mode of operations, what they are doing, the challenges Nigerians are facing. So all these challenges Nigerians are facing is one of the things that we discuss with the operators whenever we go with the MDAs, whenever we go to them. So it's not that the honorable member do not know that Act is long overdue, but the NCC is supposed to take that responsibility to ensure that, yes, the Act I'm operating with, these are the challenges. You know, after we ask them questions, we also expect them, we ask them if there's anything we need to do for them. Is there any area that they need our support that we need to do in terms of their processes, in terms of their acts, in terms of everything? But
speaking about support,
don't take this responsibility for. How do we do it?
Speaking about support to the commission,
now that is problem, and that is why they take this thing up now.
Speaking about support to the commission, the telecom operators often complain about vandalism of their infrastructure, and yet little or nothing is being done about it, or they receive little or no help from security agencies to protect that critical infrastructure. At what point should this be considered as a national security threat?
Okay, thank you. You know, when I started, I said these challenges is not only the operator challenges, because Nigerians also will need to change their mindset. The telecommunication infrastructure is protection, is the responsibility of everybody. Because, you know, if your site is down, if anybody cut their fiber or destroy their site, at that particular site, as I've said, your mobile phone is not working in isolation. Your mobile phone, either you use it or you don't use it, talks to the base station. And the base station reports your mobile phone to the switch to ensure that it stays on that network at every particular time. But you see now, when people go to telecom infrastructure and they destroy it, they cut their fiber, there's no way you will not have poor network. There's no way you will not have downtime, because that phone is not operating in isolation. And that is why Nigerians need to change mindsets. Let us be protective. Let us protect all the telecom infrastructure, because when the damage you do to telecom infrastructure, it's not only the infrastructure is not only being used by you. It's being used by the entire populace, by Nigerians. And when they have difficulties in making call, they just pass that blame to operators. Right. We need, I've said it in that conference, that the NCC need to partner with NOA, Nigerian Orientation Agency, to let Nigerians know that your phone is not working in isolation. They are working with all this infrastructure, and the moment you don't own it in your area, right, the moment you destroy it, you will have difficulties. Okay, you will have difficulties in making calls. In other African countries, it wasn't like that. We have government operators that are responsible for the long distance communication. They are responsible for their backbone, so that they do the surveillance. The operators they just request for bandwidth from this operator. But in Nigeria, every operator have their own backbone. Every operator have their own backbone. All right, Honorable, we'll come back to you. The operator also, they need to do something. Honorable, we'll come back to you. Because before, when they started, they have a team.
We'll come back to you. Now let's talk about service, quality of service and service delivery. We've had series of increase in pricing by these telecom operators, and there's a particular incident I had recently where subscribing and you don't even have network, and when they check their dashboard, they said I have over 100 gig, but you cut me off at the end of the month. Now, tell me, is it a technical issue or a policy issue that you have a backlog on your dashboard, but you can't use it?
Okay, so that's largely a technical issue, because it means what is being displayed to you at the front end is quite different from what is happening.
No, they tell you that validity that has expired. You must buy a new one. Meanwhile, you have over 100 gig left
Okay, so it all depends, because if it has been clearly stated from the beginning that there is a validity period for this particular service you're subscribing to, and that period elapses, it definitely would cut you off. But if there is no prior notice of that validity period and you're being cut off, then it's an issue of policy, and they should be held accountable for not making all the necessary information available. So that to an extent can be considered to be fraud, because it would mean that I am paying for services that I don't even know what exactly it's supposed to do. And largely when it has to do with service delivery, even though the MNOs, the mobile network operators, are the ones that deals directly with the public, the NCC are largely those that should regulate them, and if they are not regulating them properly, it means that they're not doing their job. I know fully well that there is a particular service provider that has been down for quite some time now. They're having internal corporate political issues, and subscribers are on that platform. For most of the time, I would even have to use internet to make my call via VoIP, as against using the regular and I have data. So if, for example, I've bought let's say 1,000, 2,000 naira, and I'm expected to make calls with that, and I can't make call with that, and you have already placed a validity period on that airtime, what now, and now your network is now available for me to use, then it means that I just wasted my money. So there is the role that NCC needs to play in ensuring that they are able to regulate these operators, and ensuring that operators live up to the standards and keep their promises when it has to do with service delivery. And if they are not doing that, fine should be given to these operators. And more importantly, there is even while the Honorable was talking, he made mention of the fact that in the Act there is still room for NCC to make policies, so they can they have the public inquiry section of the Act that gives them room to bring stakeholders together and make certain policies. That's how the SIM registration policies came to be, without them having to go to the National Assembly. So they can still explore that option to be able to solve some of these problems that they are waiting for the National Assembly to solve. That's one. Secondly, I think that public inquiry section of the Act, that was not carried out when they were doing their price review, because it's a matter of general nature, and it's affecting everybody. In the increase of their bill, there was no discussion in line with that. The public was not carried along. The human rights and federal competition and consumer pricing, they were not carried along. So the Act, the policy was just implemented, and nothing. I didn't see anything that has to do with stakeholders' engagement. So right. I think NCC needs to work out and see how they can regulate the operators and ensure that quality of service is given to those that are paying for them, because truly people are paying and they're not getting the service.
Yeah. Well, many of these operators say the high charges of right-of-way are slowing down broadband penetration rollout in Nigeria. How can we strike a balance between generating revenue and making it easier to build infrastructure that we need?
Okay, so I know I am aware of in the news of late that there have been synergy between mobile network operators. MTN and Airtel tend to collapse. They are more of like collapsing their infrastructures together. And Glo is raising concerns that they should not allow a major network operator to be the one and the only person that has custody of most of the infrastructure. So I believe what we can do is, like what the Honorable said, in most advanced countries, the regulators in most cases owns the infrastructure, and operators just subscribe to that infrastructure. But in our case, it's quite different. The operators own the infrastructure because it's quite expensive to set up infrastructures. And looking at the growth rates that we had within that period where the act was established, and now it's just like it was largely driven by the private sectors. And if the public sector wants to come in now, what it will mean, it would be that the public sector needs to invest heavily in that in infrastructure, ensuring that they are able to maneuver because the right of way is a huge concern for operators, a huge concern, because they will have to pay the operator's license, they have to pay frequency license, they have to pay right of way to state governors where the fiber is
just because of time, let me just quickly ask the Honorable. Now, Honorable, is there something that can be done that a consumer has made subscription and you still have valid subscription, but you are timed out because of validity period? Do we need to have this validity period in data? When you don't have validity in making calls, do you need to have it in data?
Honestly, this validity issues and is something that we need to look at, because when you buy with your money, when you buy data with your money, so I don't think anybody should tell you when and how to use your data, because you have already paid for it. So if in as much that we don't have validity for voice, why do we have validity for data? So I think that one also we should look at it, because somebody that invested in the data and you did not finish it at that particular time, so there is no way that people will say no, the validity has expired and you lose the data. So most of the time when you buy again, they bring the one that they added it to the new one that you buy. But honestly, the validity period should be removed, because you can decide to, if you have money this month, you can decide to buy as much as possible. And if you following month you don't have money, you're supposed to have opportunity to use what you have already paid for. So that NCC should look at it. And we also, from our side, we look at it. The validity period should be removed, because it's just an avenue to exploit Nigeria. So for me, I think validity period is not required. And also, let me just speak on what the gentleman has said. The infrastructure is the major issues. I don't see why we have these mobile operators, and they cover the same city, the same state. And every operator has their own backbone. The MTN is running alongside Airtel, alongside Glo, the same backbone, which is waste of resources. We can harmonize this. Because it's a pipe. Just the capacity, they just need to calculate to know the capacity they need to cover every area, so that they can, instead of investing on we are talking about right of way. Each of the operators will get the right of way separately, and they are going along the same route. This is not good. This is not what is happening in other countries. Let's take Cameroon for example. They have Camtel, which is responsible for their backbone. Every operator goes to them, and they get the bandwidth they have. You go to Ghana also. The Ghana have their own. Even in Africa, African countries that surrounded us. And if you look at that, we will invest less on the infrastructure. Because the same resources we need to take care of the same routes are what we need to take care of for every other operators. So I think we should look at that, so that at least.
We'll come back to you. But Mr. Jafaru, just before we let you go, Nigeria's digital economy is growing fast, but it's also being exploited by fraud and corruption. How do you clean up the digital space while encouraging economic growth?
Okay, so it starts from us having data. So we have the NCC, the NIN, and less than half of the population have NIN at the moment. We have passport numbers, we have driver's license numbers and all that. And the data currently is being harmonized, but even at that, we don't have a lot of persons. Half of NIN has the highest numbers of registered users. So we need to have data. We need to have data. That's one way we need to go. Once we've been able to get this data, then it's easier to now plan, because when you plan without data, there will be places, there will be room for investment, there will be room for corruption, there will be room for fraud. And at the point of planning, that's where you allocate. That's where you allocate the right resources. For me, I believe for us to explore the gig economy, the digital economy, which is what is championing globalization at this point, we need to invest in talent development a lot, because talent development, there is a shift. Like I would always say, every industrial revolution comes with a new shift, starting from the first industrial revolution to the current industrial revolution that we have. And that shift is usually in job loss. Like when in the first industrial revolution, people left agriculture for for factories. Second industrial revolution, people left factories for the oil and gas industry. Third industrial revolution, people left the oil and gas industry for the computer industry. Now we are seeing we're in the fifth industrial revolution, and there is majorly going to be a job shift, and that's where AI is going to have a major role to play. So we have to begin to look at the possibility of us reskilling for those of us who want to change neuro, because truth be told, in this industrial revolution, many persons will lose their job, but that's not out. They will have to now reskill, or you upskill, acquire new skills so that you become relevant in this dispensation, in this industrial
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we must say thank you so much. I truly enjoyed this conversation we had this morning. Thank you for your time with us on the program. Honorable Adefunroyi, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, that's where we'll leave the conversation this morning. We will now hand you over to our Lagos studio, where Veronica and the rest of the crew are standing by to continue with the rest of the show.
All right. Thank you, Eshomomo. Thank you, TJSU, for that insightful conversation. Back in Lagos now, it's time for stories that are trending now. And